the 7 deadly sins that at some point we've fallen victim to, right? Like, think about that one time. One of your boys was falling on hard times and they were in desperate need of money. Now they came to you looking for some help, and money may have been tight on your end, but this is your boy, bro. A man who's been around since the beginning of time. And maybe he was there when your girlfriend broke up with you. Or maybe he was there when your girlfriend cheated on you with him. But regardless of what it was, he was there for you. And so you give him the money. Time would pass, and now it comes time for him to repay. And this nigga vanishes off the face of the earth like C-Day. And I don't know about you niggas. But in my book, that's all 7 of the deadly sins with some DLC extras, okay? And I'm looking directly at the camera because it's some niggas who are going to watch this video that know they owe me money and still not want it, bro. Y'all niggas have my bank information. Give me my money. Regardless, you've joined me here today to explore different YouTubers who have exhibited each of these different sins, resulting in jail time, PDF activity.
Well, I was actually coming out here to pick up a cupcake.
And murder. Something that should have happened to the person who represents our first sin, lust. Lust can be characterized as an intense or unrestrained craving for sex. And there's no better YouTuber to represent this than the YouTuber known as Chris Chan. Let's jump to sometime between 2008 and 2009. Upset, lonely, and desperate, Chris would rot alone in his room, thinking about how he fumbled Megan. Trying to get Megan out of his mind, Chris would open up his laptop, and for days, he would jump from online chat room to online chat room, yearning for anyone to replace Megan and fulfill his love quest. And one day, Chris was on yet another one of his chat room binges. Tired and ready to call it a night, Chris was actually getting ready to leave when a user by the name Julie would say something in the chat that caught Chris's attention. Chris would actually respond, not really thinking much of it. Then the two would start a conversation, and surprisingly, they hit it off instantly. Julie Milvana, with a Malvanian background, was born on July 13th, 1989. She was 20 years old, residing in Cleveland, Ohio. And like Chris, Julie was on the chat rooms looking to make new friends. As they talked, Julie would realize that their friends had the same music, and Chris would realize that they enjoyed the same food. So with so much going on in common, they were like a match made in heaven. And as they talked, they further grew feelings for one another. And naturally, they began to grow curious as to what one another looked like. So eventually, they would exchange information and begin to message each other privately, sending each other pictures of one another. And when Chris first laid his eyes on Julie, he was absolutely enamored by her. A beautiful brunette woman with soft chocolate brown eyes. Chris was starstruck. And to his surprise, Julie was just as attracted to Chris as Chris was to her. And things would continue to heat up when they began to call each other, talking to each other in the day, late into the night, conversing about absolutely anything and everything. And what began as calling every day turned into e-sex for hours every night. And this caused their bond to deepen even more, to the point where Chris would tell his mother Barbara about Julie. Not the phone sex, just her existence. And of course, Chris's father Bob eventually found out about Julie. On one night, Chris's father Bob would walk into Chris's room, and he would find his son with his meat equipped on the phone with Julie during one of their late night phone calls.
What are you doing? Nothing. What are you doing? Nothing. Give me that crap now. What's going on? Dad, will you get out of here? Get away from the internet. I'm cutting it down right now. No!
And of course, Bob is thoroughly disgusted, my nigga. Like, imagine your parents walking on you in your room, fondling your pickle while you're on the phone with some random woman across the world, and she's there listening to you do so. Chris and Bob would get into an argument, and eventually, Bob, thoroughly disgusted and traumatized, would turn around and he would leave. It was at that moment that Chris and Julie realized that they gotta meet in person, away from their parents, in private. You know what I'm saying? Like, they trying to go crazy. So on February 10th, 2009, Julie would actually hit up Chris and tell him straight up, is we fucking or no, my nigga? Like, and in response, Chris would tell her he's not comfortable driving all that distance, that she should come to him. Julie tells Chris, what the fuck, my nigga, pull up. And eventually Chris would agree. And then he begins to start setting money aside for this voyage. Chris was absolutely incapable of containing his excitement to see Julie. So much to the point that on February 20th, 2009, Chris would create his first of many tapes. And this particular tape was called For Julie's Eyes Only. And what it featured was a nude Chris with just socks on, laying next to a Kimmy doll, a blow-up Kimmy doll. And he would demonstrate his play-by-play on how he wishes to get intimate with Julie. And I'm gonna tell you niggas right now, do not search it up because you will find what you're looking for. But all of this would change on the 26th of February, 2009. 5:30 in the morning, 10 degrees Fahrenheit. The sun has barely risen and Chris can feel the cold wind grazing his face as he silently walked to the boot of his car with a bag in hand. And inside the bag, there were 6 sets of clothes, a Nintendo DS, and a PSP. He put the bag in the boot, he silently closed it, and he made his way to the driving seat. He jumped in, turned on the ignition, and since the temperatures were low, Chris would let the car idle and heat up for a few minutes. And as Chris waited, he would check his pockets to make sure that he still had his wallet. Double checking to make sure that he still had $50 in it, along with his driving license. Tossing his wallet to the passenger seat, Chris would give a quick glance at his fuel gauge, just to make sure it was as full as when he filled it up yesterday. Satisfied, Chris would slowly back out from his parents' driveway in Ruckersville, Virginia. And then he would drive over to the I-81, heading north. And as Chris drove on the I-81, Chris couldn't help but think about how his parents would react when they found the note he had written for them, along with the map outlining an 800-mile journey to Cleveland, Ohio. Because Chris, commonly known as Christopher Columbus, was on his way to see a very excited Julia Novana. It's assumed Chris took Route 522 and the I-70 to Breezewood, Pennsylvania, where he connected with the Pennsylvania Turnpike and dropped $11 for the toll. Chris breezed along this route, blasting music and taking the beautiful scenery of the landscape in. And at around 4:30 in the afternoon, Chris would make a quick stop at Streetsboro, Ohio, where he bought 6 gallons of fuel, a small hamburger with mayonnaise, and a lemon berry slushie. He pressed on, and around half an hour later, a few minutes after 5 in the afternoon, Chris would arrive on the outskirts of Cleveland at 2229 East 46th Street, where Julie lived. Chris parked his car directly outside of Julie's home. Excited but overwhelmed with how tired he was from this lengthy journey, Chris let out a sigh of relief and he jumped out of his car. Stretching until his whole body shook, Chris was excited to see his girlfriend and he practically ran towards the old, run-down house that was Julie's residence. And when he got to the door, he knocked. Chris's heart was pounding in his chest and it was completely stiff with anxiety. And he stood there awkwardly as he waited for someone to answer the door. Time would pass, and eventually, Chris could hear the creaking of old wooden floors as someone was making their way towards the front door. Chris could hear the cracking sounds of the door being unlocked, and then it swung open. And then standing there, before Chris, was an elderly black woman. Naturally, Chris was slightly confused as he wasn't aware that Julie was having guests over today. However, he would brush the thought aside and then he'd ask the elderly woman if Julie was home. The elderly woman stared at Chris and she would respond, no. Slightly confused, Chris would ask again, but this time he would describe Julie to her, to which the elderly woman would pause and think, looking off into the distance. Their eyes connected once again, and this time, the elderly woman would still say no. And of course, as you would be, Chris was kind of confused. So he left the house after chatting to the woman some more and he went over to nearby East 40th Street. And when he got there, he would ask around the same questions and he would get the same response. Because Julie Mavana didn't even exist. This entire time, Julie was just a 13-year-old boy named David Harlow, and he went under the alias Blue Spikes, and he had been trolling Chris this entire fucking time. And that includes the E6. I don't know how you don't realize that's a little ass kid, but that little ass nigga gay. But you haven't even heard the craziest part about all of this. The reason that Chris drove to Ohio was because a group known as the Miscreants had tricked Chris into believing that Julie was going to get kidnapped and trafficked to China. So Chris drove to Ohio to save her. That man drove almost 1,000 miles for some cheeks, bro. This was Chris's life, a desperate and lonely man who let his lust take complete control over it, and people would take egregious advantage of it, making Chris do things like putting beads and a various list of items like his Satori medallion up his ass.
You shoved the Satori medallion up your ass?
I don't want to talk about that.
Okay, why did you do that?
Dry humping his PlayStation for 8 minutes and losing his virginity to the silicone properties of his blow-up doll. All things done out of lust and desperation for some penetration. But, and I mean this when I say this, not one of the things that I mentioned here come nearly as close to the straight up nasty and disgusting thing that this man would do 13 years later. July 29th, 2021. The pandemic is at its peak, and almost every country around the world is shut down. The world is silent, as nobody can go outside, and everyone is locked indoors, as you can probably remember. That includes Chris Chan, who's isolated from the world, and at this point, he has next to the same amount of human contact he had before. His desperation and lust for sex was still at an all-time high. But he's drawing unpleased by black and orange YouTube, inanimate objects, and by now, he's been paying for the services of the ladies of the night. Rockersville, Virginia. The moon is glowing, the streets are silent, and Chris Chan is home alone with his mother, Barbara. Because unfortunately, at this point, his father Bob had passed away only 6 months after Chris's Ohio trip due to heart complications. So at this point, it's up to Chris to take care of his 79-year-old mother suffering from dementia. So now Chris is home alone, taking care of his mother, when a strange video was posted to YouTube. Now upon first glance, there isn't anything particularly strange about the video. It's just a still image with audio of a conversation between a person named Christine Weston and another person named Isabella Jank. The video itself isn't strange. However, if you're to pay attention to the audio between the two people having a conversation, then you'd realize that one person is admitting to having inappropriate relations with one of their family members. Because the person in the conversation, Christine Weston Chris Chandler, also known as Chris Chan, admitted to taking advantage of his 79-year-old mother, Barbara Chandler, who was suffering from dementia. Please be advised that I'm about to play some audio transcripts from this call, and it's very distressing, so if you don't wish to hear it, please skip ahead to this point in the video.
When did you start having feelings for Barbara?
Well, for a long time. I remember even mentioning some time ago on the videos that I even had dreams where I had sex with her, obviously.
Really?
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. The Oedipus complex.
Oh, Oedipus, that's right, yeah. How, if you don't mind me asking, I know that's probably personal, you have to answer, but how is the sex?
It was satisfactory. It took a while. It took a few tries. We've been doing it every third night, and the first night being on June 27th.
Oh, you have a routine? Oh.
Yeah.
But how did this happen? How did this come about?
Well, among which just mainly I was really, really horny, and I needed the true and honest relationship to come about. So obviously this was one of the best ways to do it, despite it being with and I don't want to believe in labels at all, but right. Obviously.
Christine Weston Chris Chandler was arrested on August 21st, 2021, and he was charged with incest. But on March 27th, 2023, Chris Chan was released from custody and he is free today. Which is also something I wish I couldn't say for the YouTuber representing our next sin, greed. I define greed as a person who does whatever it takes, disregarding their honor, morals, ethics, and consequence to acquire that which they want. Now, there's an overwhelming abundance of grimy and greedy niggas that I could choose from crypto scammers to fake giveaways and so on. Like, these are the type of niggas that would rob a disabled person's wheelchair and sell it on Craigslist for a bag, bro. Anyway, the YouTuber who I believe fits this criminal profile, if you will, would be none other than the YouTuber known as Neon. Because on December 21st, 2019, unfortunately, Neon was diagnosed with cancer, and he makes a YouTube video about this situation.
This is Neon's brother. My nigga, if you really do got a brother, I want to fight you and him. Why the fuck would your brother let you do some stupid shit like this? Where's your dad? Where's your mom?
As you can see, Neon is letting his supporters know that he is in critical condition, informing us he has brain cancer and he is actively dying as he's making these YouTube videos, developing a multitude of tumors in his brain, and many people have him in their prayers. And then he drops an update on this situation.
Like, bro, look at this nigga, man. Look at this school shooter with all of those, I'm not joking around with none of this shit. I could tell a school sniper when I see one. He's one of those.
The title of this video is Neon's Final Words. You guys know me as Neon, aka Toxic, Funny, Raging Kid, whatever you guys wanna call me. And you guys have seen my latest video. I have surgery. I love you guys, and I'm really thankful for everything that you guys have done for me. And for everyone who thinks this is a joke, bro, this stuff that's happening is not something to joke around about. You guys are making fun of me, are laughing and saying it's fake. Then you guys are just terrible people.
He's struggling to just get through the day, bro. Just like the young girl whose story I'm due to tell in this video today. This transpires, and then someone drops the third and final video on this situation.
The nigga said that he's dead. Right? He said he's dead. Listen. He's gone, R.I.P.
Neon's gone, and unfortunately, he's definitely died without getting to know what it's like to be in some cheeks. You know, it's terrible, and his family, as well as supporters and creators alike, are all mourning this untimely death. The internet is heartbroken at the loss of this prepubescent child who, unfortunately, as I said, has died without knowing what it's like to just be in some cheeks one time. He's gone and he'll never get to experience that, you know. Weeks go by and Duke Dennis takes to Twitter and he tweets a picture with a caption that reads, "When you're at a Rockets game, but you're supposed to be dead." Because Neon was at that game, bro. Miraculously. Like Chief Keef himself, Neon was back from the dead.
I'm alive.
And I guess that Neon didn't say nothing because he doesn't want to scare nobody now, you know? Like, he don't want people thinking that his parents know how to cast reanimation jitsu or some shit, you know? So he probably kept on the down low.
So I was starting to have a tumor in my head. I got surgery on it, and the options when I got the surgery was either I was going to bleed out to death or I was going to survive. It was like a 50-50. The surgery was 2 days ago. I've been resting, relaxing. This is like actual serious stuff that you should not be joking around about. And everyone who kept me in their prayers, everyone who was hoping that I made it through it, I love you guys so much. I'm here to say I'm alive, and hopefully when the reports come back, and if they say everything is clear, I'm gonna be the happiest person ever. I'm gonna be so happy.
And I can tell you're smart enough to realize that Neon faked having brain cancer, as well as faking his own death for the sake of views and clout.
He dropped a video saying I got exposed.
Yo, bro, I got some bad news for you.
What is it? What is it?
You know the last video you were in? Well...
Yeah?
So this nigga did all that to get views on his Fortnite vids.
Shit, if he wanted to do it right now, he could have gone to Cuba with Michael Jackson, Tupac and them and start playing spades or something, I don't know. It is insane to me to think that a nigga would really put up a front like he's suffering, faking having cancer and dying, simply for some views and clicks, my nigga. Like, there's really people out there that are genuinely suffering from the curse that is cancer, as well as their families having to watch them fight this battle, right? Like the person whose story I said I'm gonna tell. A 10-year-old girl had to fight that battle. And here goes this Intel tech support ass nigga mocking it for views and fucking clout. But nah, no seriousness, this little nigga's a psychopath, bro. Like, I know y'all seen that little freaky ass smile he did, but maybe we can chalk it up to the fact that he's still a young nigga, you know? Young niggas, their frontal lobe is still installing and shit, but that nigga is 20 years old doing shit like this.
You wanna kill yourself, you're broke, whatever it is, just genuinely do it. No one cares about you. Kill yourself.
Play out.
My dick with your mother's lips. Fuck you. I'm a clout fiend. I love the numbers, so I was doing dumb shit. And I faked my death, bro. Good times. I actually did it twice. No one knows about this. What a shitty fucking job. 9 to 5, $10 an hour. Holy shit.
Really, dumbass?
I own a black haircut. Typical, like, hood rat, drug dealer haircut.
Listen, Haji, don't get up here.
I'm about to say the word. I don't give a shit, bro. Little
What's that?
Oh my god. Close the door. Close the fucking door.
Why you making that face?
Place where there's no water, hate.
Why you making that face, nigga?
Shift up? What is going on? What am I doing wrong? How do I take it off manual? How do I take it off manual? When you do get knocked out, are you gonna retire?
Who said that? So I know who you are. Hello, bitch boy. You fucking little pussy.
If I have a lot of respect for everyone, man. It's just I want to see a great fight.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry.
Once again, Neon's disregard for his own honor, ethics, the consequences to come with it, as well as his greed for views, money, exposure, clout, whatever you want to call it, is what helped him land a nice, comfortable spot in an Arabic prison. And bro, Neon don't got the attributes or the accolades to be in the prison system, so that nigga was in there getting tossed around like a salad, my nigga. He got out and streamed, and from what the internet saw, he's a changed man. He experienced a loss of freedom and control over his own life. His life wasn't in his own hands anymore. In jail, he's hearing real-life stories from inmates, and he's learning firsthand that each action will have its consequence. But no, not even a week later, bro. Neon links up the YouTuber known as Squeeze Benz, whose life basically revolves around cutting up in traffic, full grown-ass traffic, putting other people's lives in danger for fun, basically. Him and Neon link, Neon live streams it, and apparently they get into a car crash, but who knows if it was real. And not long after that, Squeeze Benz gets arrested. That hunger and greed for views means that Neon has not changed. He literally went to jail, bro. A place where your life is not in your hands at all. And you are at the mercy of other people. And he still hasn't changed. Still doing reckless shit, getting banned off Kick time and time again. Which is actually crazy because Kick is literally known for having no rules or regulations, my nigga. No amount of money can buy character. It must be earned, usually, through overcoming adversity. And this is a memo that the next big YouTuber who I will use to represent Gluttony is simply incapable of comprehending. Gluttony can be defined as habitual greed or excess eating due to a lack of self-control. And EDP445's freaky deaky big back ass is a human embodiment of this perfectly because he's a glutton in all fields, weighing in at just under the mass of a black hole because he eats for 2 families, and being a prestige master predator with all the accolades because he gets caught so damn often you think this nigga was an OVO associate. The entire globe knows about EDP and his gluttonous quest for cupcakes and minors. Because one day in April 2021, EDP got exposed for being on that underground rapper type timing. You know what I'm saying? He was explicitly messaging children, sending them dirty and funky pictures. The type of pictures I would make a damn blind nigga thankful to God, thankful to the heavens above that he cannot see. The whole internet canceled this nigga and got him up out the way. And multiple girls continued to come forward after the fact he was cancelled because this This freaky deaky ass nigga never stopped, bro. Like almost a year later, Gideon and EDP link up, right? But Gideon pulling up was actually a surprise to EDP because check this. EDP was back in his ways and he was sexting what he thought was a minor, when in actuality, it was just Gideon and a man named Skeeter. And EDP was trying to meet up with this minor for the same freaky, deaky ass reasons as before. Now, let me tell you something. A single act of EDP activity is one far too many, okay? And in fact, if you watching this video are thinking of conducting such actions, which I highly doubt now because any viewer or subscriber of mine is a highly intelligent, well-adjusted member of society with an abundance of motion, and you would never stoop to such a level, right? And if you're not subscribed, my nigga, what are you doing, man? Click the button, bro. But if you or anyone you know are having such thoughts, then I, Satori, or Zwain, as people like to call me, present to you a cure designed eons ago with an 100% success rate. But anyway, EDP's habitual predatorial appetite for children has literally caused his name to become the tip-top gold standard for PDFs. Like his name is literally synonymous with that Epstein shit. That nigga's actually cooked, bro. Like there's no recovery, bro. He might need to reset his character. There's no moves he can make on the chessboard. It's a wrap. And that's actually, how is this nigga still free? That's my question, bro. Maybe the higher ups haven't found a big enough prison cell to habitat this nigga, and they're renovating or something. I don't fucking know, but y'all niggas need to speed up the process now. This nigga don't stop. He's a glutton, bro. This nigga's a glutton. But EDP has always been a big YouTuber, creating this channel on June 13th, 2010. He uploaded his first video, and as you can see, even back then, this nigga was weighing in at a one-bedroom flat in England, bro. And like any morbidly obese person, all that excessive eating, mukbangs, DLC expansion pack foods this nigga's been consuming has eventually caught up with him. January 2nd, 2023, EDP would tweet that he has stage 5 kidney failure. Due to a lack of self-control, EDP would make decisions while in a gluttonous state. And as a result, he's suffering in all aspects of life as a result of his gluttonous acts. Like now, he can't make friends, get a job, or go in public settings because of the reputation that he alone is responsible for creating. Boys and girls, understand that. You need to guard your reputation with your life, because once you lose that, your life is effectively over. Now, EDP's name is synonymous with PDFs. He got a bounty on his head and his kidneys got an expiration date on it. Wishing death upon people is never something that's generally celebrated or rejoiced. You know, death is no revenge. However, the results that EDP is faced with due to his gluttonous acts they're inevitable. And he may be faced with death, whether that's through his health or if some jurisdiction out there finds a jail cell big enough to situate this big ass nigga. A YouTuber who was also faced with death after causing not just one, but multiple deaths is the YouTuber who I will use to represent the most wicked sin. Wrath. Wrath is described as an extremely intense feeling of hate and resentment with a burning desire for vengeance. This evil and wicked YouTuber is someone who you've probably never heard of. However, I believe they perfectly exemplify the sin of wrath. And their name is